Welcome back to the deep dive. I want you to do something for me. Close your eyes, maybe not if you're driving, but metaphorically, just transport yourself.
Yeah.
It's early 2026. We're looking back at the year that just passed, 2025, and we're looking specifically at the island nation of Sri Lanka.
It's a fascinating place to look, because if you just rewind a tiny bit further to late 2024, the whole vibe in Sri Lanka was, well, it was electric.
Right, there was this massive political transformation, a leftist coalition, the National People's Power, or NPP. They just swept into power in a landslide.
It wasn't just a win, though. It felt like a mandate.
Yeah.
They had the executive presidency, and they had a 2/3 majority in parliament, and their platform.
It was huge. System change, justice, and really, really loudly freedom of speech.
Exactly. I mean, while they were in the opposition, they were the absolute champions of the press. They were shouting from the rooftops about media freedom.
So the expectation for 2025, their first full year in charge, it was sky high.
Everyone was expecting, a golden age of transparency.
But here's the hook. And it is a really striking contradiction we found in our source material for today. We're looking at a report called Black January, published by BBC News Sinhala. And instead of a golden age, it's painting a picture of a government facing accusations of doing the exact opposite of what they promised.
It's a classic be careful what you wish for scenario.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's power changes your perspective. The source outlines a whole year of legal intimidation, restricted access.
And all these unresolved past crimes.
Yeah, it's a really concerning turnaround.
So our mission today is to unpack this. We're going to look at the specific incidents from 2025. We'll analyze the hard stats from the free media movement, and we'll try to answer a really tricky question.
Which is?
Has the culture of impunity in Sri Lanka actually changed, or has it just taken on a new, more bureaucratic disguise?
That is the core question. We often think of repression as, physical violence, the white vans, the assaults. But what we're seeing in this report might be something more subtle.
But just as dangerous.
Equally dangerous. It's like the bureaucratization of silence.
Okay, let's unpack this. First, we have to set the stage. The report focuses on 2025. This is the honeymoon period that apparently wasn't.
Right. The media circles, so journalists, activists, the watchdogs, they're all starting to complain. And they aren't just grumbling, they actually have data.
They do.
The free media movement put out their 2025 monitoring report, and the numbers are honestly startling for a government that brands itself as progressive. They recorded 88 new incidents.
Yeah, wait, 88 in 1 year?
In 1 year. And these are incidents specifically challenging the safety and security of journalists.
So that's roughly one incident every 4 days.
Yep. And that's just safety and security. If you widen the lens to look at the total number of observed incidents, so censorship, access denial, legal threats, all of that, the number jumps to 246.
246. That's almost an incident every single workday of the year.
Exactly. And on top of that, they noted 31 new developments in old cases. So legal situations from the past that are just still dragging on.
Those numbers are heavy, but numbers can be abstract. I want to dig into the how. Because, to be fair to the government, we aren't hearing about the really blatant, bloody stuff from Sri Lanka's past, right?
No, and that is a crucial distinction we have to get to.
Journalists aren't being gunned down.
We aren't seeing the white vans, the abductions that plagued previous eras. No. Instead, 2025 seems to be the year of the summon.
The summon.
The primary tools of control appear to be the Criminal Investigation Department, the CID, and the police.
Right, so let's look at the timeline the report lays out. It almost feels like a strategy of exhaustion, and it started right away in January 2025.
It did. The CID summoned the news editor of the Aruna newspaper, Udayajiva Ekanayak. And the reason they brought him, his reporting on great heroes or Mavir commemorations in the north.
Okay, so for context for our listeners, Mavir Nal is the Remembrance Day for the LTTE, the separatist group. It's always been a red line for the Sri Lankan state. But just reporting on it isn't illegal, is it?
Reporting on it is, well, it's news. It happens. But by summoning a news editor to the CID, which is a criminal investigation unit, the state sends a very specific signal.
We're watching.
Exactly. We're watching what you print about this. It creates a chill. And he wasn't the only one. The chief editor, Mahinda Ilapruma, he was also questioned.
And this wasn't a one-off thing. Fast forward to November 2025, and chief editor Ilapruma is back at the CID.
Right. And this time it was about a story on how to obtain police reports. It just feels like a pattern of harassment. When you write a story, you lose a day to interrogation.
It makes running a newspaper incredibly difficult.
It's friction. They're adding friction to the process of just telling the truth.
But there was one incident in April 2025 that really stood out to me as, well, terrifying in its implication. The court reporter, Upali Ananda.
Ah, yes. This is a vital case to understand what's happening. Upali Ananda is a court reporter. His entire job is to go to court, listen, read the filings, and tell the public what's going on.
It's standard journalism.
Completely standard. But the police questioned him about how he obtained a B report. Now, a B report is a standard filing the police make to a magistrate about an investigation. It's a court document.
So he was reporting on a sexual crime case involving a doctor. He gets the B report, writes the story, and the police drag him in.
That's it. And think about what they're asking. They aren't saying his story is false. They are interrogating his process.
How did you get this?
Who gave this to you? This is a direct attack on source protection.
That is the key, isn't it? If I'm a source inside the system and I see a reporter getting grilled by the cops about where he got a document, I am never giving that reporter a document again.
Precisely. It cuts off the flow of information right at the source. It's designed to make sources scared to talk.
Yeah.
And then you have the Terrorism Investigation Division, the TID, getting involved in August.
The TID. Okay, that sounds even more serious than the CID.
It is. They summoned a photojournalist, Kanapatha Pillai Kumana, and the reason they gave, to question him about his social media activities.
Social media activities? Wow, that phrase is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. It is incredibly broad.
It's a catch-all. It basically allows the state to police opinions online under the guise of national security. We didn't like your tweet, come to the Terrorism Division.
That is a terrifying escalation for a freelancer.
And in that same month, August, the CID launched an investigation into Hairu Media. And this one, honestly, it just sounds petty.
What was it?
They were investigated for reporting that the Prime Minister visited former President Ranil Wickremesinghe in the hospital.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
It sounds so small, but it reveals the mindset. Why investigate that? Probably because the government wanted to manage the optics. Maybe they didn't want their base to know about that meeting. So when Hairu reports it, they use the police to punish the outlet.
It's using state resources to police the political narrative.
And treating journalism like a leak that needs to be plugged. And all of this escalation, it really culminated in December 2025. This is where the report says the gloves really came off.
Right. The public security minister, Sunil Watagala, he instructed the police to use emergency law.
Emergency law,
Yeah.
which is usually reserved for, riots or actual terrorist attacks.
Right.
But he instructed them to use it against people making defamatory statements about the president or ministers.
That is a huge leap. Defamation is normally a civil matter. You sue someone, or maybe a criminal matter in court. But emergency law, that implies a threat to national security.
So saying something mean about a minister is now a national security threat in 2025 Sri Lanka, according to that directive, yes.
And that just shifts the power dynamic completely.
Completely. Emergency law allows for immediate detention. It bypasses so many of the usual checks and balances. It's a sledgehammer approach for a government that calls itself progressive.
So we have the police, CID, the TID, emergency law, all acting as the muscle. But the source also points to another layer. It's not just legal threats, it's bureaucratic walls, it's censorship by procedure.
Precisely. You don't always need a gun to stop a journalist. Sometimes you just need a locked door or a rejected form. In April 2025, they changed the rules for cabinet media briefings.
I saw this. They restricted online participants, right? So if you were on Zoom, you couldn't really ask questions.
Your ability was limited, yeah. And for physical access, you suddenly needed a specific government information department ID. This effectively filters out a lot of freelancers, provincial reporters,
Critical voices
who might not have that one specific accreditation. It centralizes control in Colombo with the people they know.
It filters out the wild cards, the
Yeah.
people who might ask the awkward question.
Exactly. And then you had the visit of the Indian Prime Minister. Local journalists were denied the opportunity to cover certain parts of that visit. Again, controlling the image.
Speaking of controlling the image, we have to talk about the May Day photo incident in May. This one feels so petty, but it says so much about this desire to curate reality.
This was the incident with the Lankadipa photographer, Lahiru Harshana.
Right, so he took a photo at the government's May Day rally, a standard news photo, and the Presidential Media Division, the PMD, contacted him directly.
Think about that. The president's own media team calls a single photographer, and they ordered him to remove the photo from his social media and banned it from the newspaper.
Did the report say why? Was there something sensitive in the background?
No reason given in the source, but usually when a government bans a photo from its own rally, it's because it shows something they don't want seen. Maybe empty seats, a protest sign.
Or just an unflattering angle?
Could be. But the act of the president's office directly ordering a photographer to delete a social media post, that is micromanagement of the press.
It's like they're trying to edit the history books in real time.
It is. It's an obsession with the narrative. And when citizens try to fight back using the tools of democracy, like the RTI Act, they get blocked too.
The Right to Information Act. This was supposed to be the game changer for transparency in Sri Lanka.
It was. But an activist, Anuruddha Bandara, filed a request. All he wanted were the names of the officers attached to that same presidential media division. Just a list of names. Who is on the payroll?
That seems like basic transparency. It's public money.
And it was rejected. When the government refuses to release a list of names of public officials working in a media division, you have to ask, what is the secret?
The RTI Act is supposed to be the citizen's flashlight, and they basically just took the batteries out.
They did.
So let's just recap where we are. We have harassment by the CID, censorship of photos, access denial to briefings, we have emergency law threats, but there's a darker shadow hanging over all of this. The JVP-NPP came to power promising justice for the atrocities of the past, specifically the high-profile attacks on journalists.
And this is where the sense of betrayal in the media community seems deepest. The Black January report highlights February 2025 as a major blow.
This involves the Lasantha Wickramatunge case. For our listeners, Lasantha Wickramatunge was one of the most famous editors in Sri Lanka, assassinated in 2009. His murder is the symbol of impunity in the country. He wrote his own obituary predicting his death. It's a massive scar.
It is. And in February 2025, under this new justice-seeking government, the Attorney General informed the court that no cases will be filed against 3 suspects in his assassination.
No cases! After all these years.
It sends a devastating message. It suggests that the system, the deep state, the intelligence structures protecting these perpetrators is still intact no matter who sits in the president's chair.
The political will just isn't there to crack it.
It seems not. The source quotes Lal Wickramatunge, Lasantha's brother, speaking at an event. You can just hear the exhaustion in his words. He says they've been watching for years, facts are revealed, commissions sit, reports are written.
They just want it concluded fairly. They just want the truth.
And it wasn't just Lasantha. In June 2025, there was a revelation in the Prageeth Eknaligoda case. He was a journalist who disappeared. Another huge case.
What happened there?
The Attorney General revealed in the High Court that a witness in that case had been threatened. Not once, not twice.
How many times?
19 times.
19 times.
19 times. And the person being accused of making the threats was the first accused in the case, a retired brigadier, Shami Kumaratne.
So wait, a key witness is being threatened by the main accused, a powerful military figure, while the trial is still going on.
Correct. If a witness can be threatened 19 times, it suggests the victims are still incredibly vulnerable and the accused still hold massive power. The machinery of impunity is just still grinding on.
So despite the change in government, the engine is the same, it's just a new driver at the wheel.
That is the fear. But we have to be fair here. We need to look at the nuance.
Okay.
The source material brings in the perspective of Lasantha de Silva, who is the convener of the free media movement.
Yeah.
And he adds a very important layer to all of this.
Right, because he does make a distinction. He isn't saying this is exactly like the bad old days. He says, and I'm paraphrasing here, we haven't seen the white bands yet.
Exactly. He notes that under this NPP government in 2025, there have been no reports of direct abductions, none of that specific brand of violent terror. No journalists are being bundled into vans and vanishing.
Which is a tangible improvement. Lives are safer in a physical sense.
They are. So the physical body is safe, but the professional life is under siege.
That's a good way to put it.
De Silva warns that the concern now is all this legal maneuvering. It's a shift from hard repression, killing people, to soft repression.
Suing them, interrogating them, wearing them down.
Exactly. And he also points out this communication gap. This is the ghosting strategy we sort of mentioned earlier. He said the government just isn't answering. Officials say can't talk or don't pick up the phone.
Right, even BBC Sinhala, for this very report, they couldn't reach the deputy media minister.
Dr. Kushalia Ariyaratne, the attempt failed.
Silence is a strategy. If you don't engage, your side of the story goes missing, sure, but you also don't have to answer the hard questions. It creates a vacuum.
And into that vacuum, they drop promises of new regulations. In March, the mass media minister promised a national media policy, and a chartered institute for journalists.
Now, on the surface, that sounds professional. A chartered institute, like for accountants or architects. Standards, ethics?
Sure, but in a climate of mistrust, journalists often view these things as Trojan horses. You have to ask, who runs the institute? The government. Who issues the charter? The government.
Will this institute be used to protect standards, or will it be used to decide who's allowed to be a journalist and who isn't?
If you need a license to report, the government can revoke that license if they don't like your reporting. It becomes a leash.
It centralizes control over the profession itself.
Exactly.
So let's look at the big picture. We have a government, the MPP, that came in with so much hope. In 2025, their first year ends with this Black January report. We've got 88 safety incidents, emergency law threats for defamation, the AG dropping cases on historic murders.
It's a really sobering reality check. It shows that changing the political party at the top, even with a massive mandate, doesn't automatically dismantle those deep state structures.
Or the culture of control.
The police, the CID, the TID, they seem to operate with a certain continuity of behavior. The tools are there, so they use them.
And this connects back to you, the listener. Why does this matter if you aren't a journalist in Colombo? Why should you care?
Because media freedom is always the canary in the coal mine.
Right. When they block an RTI request about who works in the president's office, they aren't just blocking a journalist, they're blocking you from knowing how your tax money is spent.
And when they restrict cabinet briefings to only people with a special ID, they restrict your understanding of new laws that might affect your business or your family.
When they stop a photographer from posting a picture of a rally, they are manipulating the reality that you see on your screen. You think you're seeing the truth, but you're seeing a curated edit.
At the end of the day, it's about the right to know. And it seems that in 2025, that right was under siege in Sri Lanka, just in a different uniform than before.
The methods have evolved. They're quieter, more legalistic, more bureaucratic.
But the results, a hesitant press, a controlled narrative, and justice denied, it looks dangerously similar to the past.
So here's the provocative thought we want to leave you with. We often celebrate when a government stops physically attacking journalists. We say, hey, at least there are no white vans, at least no one is dying, and that is good.
It is good. We should celebrate that.
But we have to ask, if a government replaces that violence with constant police interrogations, legal loopholes, and phone calls demanding you delete photos, is the press actually free?
Or is it just quiet?
And as we know, a quiet press is often indistinguishable from a shackled one.
Absolutely.
Something to mull over. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It's a heavy topic, but a really important one.
Always keep asking questions.
We'll see you on the next one.